Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever felt exhausted, busy, working day and night, yet somehow you're still in the same place? Same income, same struggle, same frustration. It's 2026. You're grinding harder than ever, but deep inside, you feel stuck. And today, I'm going to tell you why. Not to discourage you, but to wake you up. Hard work without vision is one of the most dangerous traps in modern life. It looks admirable from the outside. You wake up early, you sleep late, your schedule is full, your calendar has no empty space. People call you disciplined, responsible, dedicated, but inside you feel no real movement. You are exhausted, yet unchanged, busy, yet not progressing. This happens because effort alone does not guarantee direction. Energy without clarity only creates motion, not advancement. Imagine running at full speed on a treadmill. Your heart beats fast, sweat pours down your face, your muscles burn. Anyone watching would say you are working extremely hard, but after an hour, you are still in the same room. The problem is not your effort. The problem is your direction. Many people in 2026 are living on mental treadmills. They answer emails all day. They attend meetings. They chase deadlines. They say yes to every request. At night they collapse, feeling productive. Yet months and years later, their income, skills, and confidence remain almost the same. Vision is the difference between movement and progress. Vision means knowing where you want to go and why it matters. It means understanding the destination before investing your energy. Without vision, you become reactive. You work on what is urgent, not what is important. You respond to message instead of building ideas. You solve other people's problems, but ignore your own long-term growth. When your day is controlled by notifications, you are not building a future. You are maintaining survival. Hard work feels noble because society praises it. Since childhood, you were taught that if you try your best and put in long hours, success will eventually come. That advice is incomplete. Hard work amplifies whatever direction you choose. If your direction is unclear, you simply amplify confusion. If your direction is small, you multiply small results. Effort is a multiplier. Vision determines what gets multiplied. Consider two individuals working 12 hours a day. The first one focuses only on completing assigned tasks. He waits for instructions. He improves nothing beyond his job description. His effort keeps him employed, but not expanding. The second person works the same hours, but studies market trends, builds new skills, and designs solutions that create value beyond his role. After a few years, their outcomes are dramatically different. The difference was not effort, it was clarity. Vision also protects your energy. When you know what matters most, you stop wasting time on distractions. You learn to say no. You choose projects aligned with your long-term goals. You measure progress not by how tired you feel, but by how much closer you are to your target. Without vision, everything feels equally important. And when everything is important, nothing truly is. Many people avoid defining a vision because it forces responsibility. If you clearly state what you want, you can no longer blame circumstances for drifting. Clarity removes excuses. It exposes whether your daily actions match your ambitions. It is easier to stay busy than to sit quietly and decide where you truly want to go. Silence demands honesty. Business hides uncertainty. Another danger of working without vision is burnout. When results do not match effort, frustration grows. You start questioning your ability. You compare yourself to others who seem to advance faster. You think perhaps you are not talented enough. In reality, you may simply be misaligned. A person rowing with strength in the wrong direction will always feel resistance. Alignment reduces friction. It channels effort efficiently. Vision does not need to be perfect or grand at the beginning. It needs to be intentional. It can start with identifying one skill you want to master, one problem you want to solve, or one lifestyle you want to build toward. The key is that your actions connect to a bigger picture. When daily tasks contribute to a meaningful goal, motivation becomes internal rather than forced. In the modern world, distractions are constant. Social media, endless content, and constant comparison create an illusion of productivity. You consume information and feel active, yet you create little. Vision shifts you from consumption to creation. It forces you to ask whether what you are doing today will matter next year. If not, why continue? Hard work is powerful when paired with direction. Think of a magnifying glass, focusing sunlight. Scattered light warms gently. Focused light can ignite fire. Your effort is the sunlight. Vision is the focus. Without focus, you stay warm but unchanged. With focus, you create transformation. Progress requires intentional design. Instead of filling your schedule automatically, you evaluate which actions move you closer to your desired identity. Instead of chasing every opportunity, you select those aligned with your long-term path. Instead of measuring success by hours worked, you measure it by meaningful outcomes achieved. When effort aligns with vision, even small steps compound. Each day builds on the previous one. Skills deepen, networks strengthen, confidence grows. The same amount of hard work begins to produce visible results. Fatigue turns into fulfillment because you can see advancement. Working hard is not the problem. Working hard without thinking is. Before adding more effort, add clarity. Before extending your hours, define your direction. Energy is limited. Time is limited. Vision ensures that what you invest multiplies rather than evaporates. Most people are trained to chase income. From a young age, the question is always about money. What job pays more? Which degree earns the highest salary? How can I get a raise? The focus becomes survival through earnings rather than contribution through value. This mindset keeps many people trapped in a cycle where they exchange time for money but never truly expand their influence or opportunities. When income becomes the primary goal, decisions are made for short-term gain instead of long-term impact. Value creation works differently. Value is about solving problems, improving lives, saving time, reducing pain, or creating opportunity for others. When you focus on value, income becomes a byproduct rather than the objective. Money flows toward usefulness. It follows those who make themselves necessary. If 10 people depend on your skill, you earn at one level. If 10,000 people benefit from what you do, your financial potential changes completely. The scale of your income is often tied to the scale of your contribution. Chasing income alone creates limitation because it narrows your thinking. You start asking, how can I get paid for this hour? Instead of, how can I make this hour more impactful? The first question keeps you in transactions. The second question pushes you toward transformation. Transactions are temporary. Transformation builds reputation, trust, and leverage. When people see you as someone who consistently delivers results and solves meaningful problems, opportunities begin to seek you out. Value also compounds over time. If you invest in becoming highly skilled in communication, technology, leadership, or problem solving, your ability to create impact increases every year. That growth makes you more adaptable and resilient. Income based purely on position or title can disappear when circumstances change. Value-based income travels with you because it is rooted in capability, not circumstance. A company can close, a market can shift, but if you have the skill to create value, you can rebuild. Many individuals remain stuck because they measure success only by their paycheck. They ignore whether they are improving, learning, or expanding their reach. Two people may earn the same salary, yet one is increasing his skills and network while the other is simply maintaining his routine. Over time, the first person's value rises, dramatically, and income eventually reflects it. The second remains dependent on incremental raises and external approval. Creating value requires a shift from self-centered thinking to service-centered thinking. Instead of asking what you deserve, you ask what others need. Instead of demanding recognition, you focus on delivering excellence. This mindset does not mean ignoring your own goals. It means understanding that the fastest way to achieve them is by becoming useful at a higher level. When you make others stronger, you indirectly strengthen yourself. Another key aspect is scalability. Income tied to hours is limited because time is limited. Value tied to systems, products, ideas, or skills can scale beyond your physical presence. A teacher who shares knowledge with one classroom impacts dozens. A teacher who creates an online course can impact thousands. The effort may be similar in the beginning, but the reach is completely different. Value expands when it is structured to reach more people. Fear often stops people from focusing on value. Building something meaningful takes time. It requires patience and sometimes delayed rewards. Chasing income feels safer because it produces immediate results. But immediate results are not always lasting results. The discipline to invest in long-term value separates those who remain average from those who create freedom. When you dedicate time to mastering a skill deeply, even if it does not pay immediately, you are building an asset that can produce income repeatedly in the future. Value creation also strengthens reputation. Reputation is invisible capital. When people trust your competence and integrity, they recommend you, collaborate with you, and open doors for you. That trust cannot be bought directly. It is earned by consistently solving problems and exceeding expectations. Over time, your name itself becomes associated with reliability. That reputation increases demand, and demand influences income. The modern economy rewards those who think beyond themselves. Technology has made it possible to impact global audiences. A single idea can reach millions. A single solution can serve entire communities. In this environment, focusing only on personal earnings limits your growth. Focusing on impact multiplies it. The larger the problem you can solve, the larger the opportunity attached to it. When you shift your mindset from how much can I earn to how much can I improve, your daily behavior changes. You seek feedback instead of validation. You look for inefficiencies instead of comfort. You volunteer for challenges instead of avoiding them. Growth becomes intentional. And as your value rises, so does your confidence. You no longer feel trapped by circumstances because you understand that your ability to create solutions is your true security. Income is important. It supports your life and responsibilities. But when it becomes the sole objective, it restricts your potential. Value, on the other hand, expands it. By committing to becoming more skilled, more thoughtful, more innovative, and more helpful, you build something that money alone cannot provide. Income may fluctuate, markets may change, trends may shift, but a person dedicated to value creation always finds a way to thrive because usefulness never goes out of demand. Most people underestimate the power of time because they measure it in days instead of decades. They wake up asking, what needs to be done today? What bills need to be paid this month? What goals can be achieved this quarter? While short-term execution is necessary, short-term thinking is dangerous. It traps you in cycles of urgency and emotional decision-making. Long-term thinking, combined with disciplined daily action, creates momentum that compounds beyond imagination. Thinking long-term means deciding who you want to become and what kind of life you want to build over the next 5 or 10 years. It means stepping back from immediate discomfort and asking whether today's actions align with tomorrow's vision. Without this perspective, You become reactive. You chase trends. You switch goals frequently. You abandon projects the moment results are slow. Every time you restart, you lose the power of accumulated effort. Short-term thinking is emotionally driven. If progress is not visible within weeks, frustration builds. Doubt appears. Comparison with others intensifies. Social media amplifies this impatience by constantly showing highlight reels of fast success. You begin to believe that growth should be quick and dramatic. When your reality does not match that illusion, motivation drops. Long-term thinking protects you from this trap because it reframes expectations. It accepts that mastery, credibility, and financial stability take sustained commitment. When you commit to a long-term vision, daily discipline becomes meaningful rather than forced. Small actions that once felt insignificant gain importance. Reading 20 pages a day does not seem life-changing in a week, but over 5 years it transforms knowledge and perspective. Saving a modest amount monthly may appear minor, but over time it creates financial security. Exercising consistently does not produce immediate transformation. Yet over years it reshapes health and confidence. Compounding is invisible at first and undeniable later. Long-term thinking also reduces impulsive decisions. When you evaluate choices through the lens of 5 or 10 years, temporary temptations lose their power. You begin asking different questions. Will this habit move me closer to my future identity? Will this distraction delay my larger goal? This mindset strengthens self-control because your vision becomes more important than your mood. Discipline stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like alignment. However, thinking long-term without acting daily is equally ineffective. Vision without execution becomes fantasy. The bridge between the present and the future is built with consistent small steps. Daily action anchors your ambition in reality. It converts abstract goals into measurable progress. Even on days when motivation is low, action maintains momentum. Consistency is more powerful than intensity because it survives emotional fluctuations. Many people make the mistake of overcommitting in the beginning. They attempt dramatic lifestyle changes, extreme schedules, and unrealistic productivity targets. This intensity rarely lasts. When exhaustion follows, they interpret it as failure. A long-term approach encourages sustainability. It favors manageable routines repeated over time. Instead of sprinting for a month and collapsing, you design habits that can be maintained for years. Steady improvement creates resilience. Another advantage of long-term thinking is clarity during setbacks. Failure feels different when viewed within a decade-long journey. A rejected proposal, a slow business quarter, or a missed opportunity becomes a lesson rather than a verdict. You understand that progress is rarely linear. There will be fluctuations, detours, and delays because your horizon extends far ahead. Temporary obstacles do not define your direction. Patience becomes a competitive advantage in a culture of immediacy. While others constantly pivot toward the newest opportunity, you deepen your expertise. While others chase rapid validation, you invest in enduring credibility. Over time, depth outperforms speed. Mastery requires repetition, reflection, and refinement. Those willing to stay committed beyond the excitement phase separate themselves from the majority. Long-term thinking also encourages strategic skill development. Instead of choosing what is popular today, you identify competencies that will remain valuable for years. Communication, critical thinking, adaptability, and leadership consistently matter regardless of industry shifts. By strengthening foundational abilities, you protect yourself against market changes. This approach builds confidence because you are not dependent on temporary trends. Daily action reinforces identity. Every time you practice your craft, study your field, or improve your systems, you cast a vote for the person you aim to become. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior reinforces identity in a continuous loop. Over months and years, this loop solidifies your transformation. You no longer feel like someone trying to succeed. You become someone who operates at a higher standard naturally. Time amplifies both discipline and neglect. Small positive actions repeated consistently lead to exponential growth. Small negative habits repeated carelessly lead to stagnation. The difference between average and exceptional often lies not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in sustained commitment. By thinking long-term and acting daily, you harness time as an ally instead of an enemy. This mindset requires courage because it delays gratification. It asks you to trust processes that may not show immediate reward. It demands faith in gradual improvement. Yet history repeatedly demonstrates that enduring achievements are built through persistence. When you align daily habits with a long-term vision, you create a structure where progress becomes inevitable rather than accidental. Most people try to upgrade their results before they upgrade themselves. They want higher income without higher skill. They want leadership without emotional control. They want recognition without growth. This approach creates frustration because external results are reflections of internal capacity. When identity stays the same, outcomes tend to repeat. Real transformation begins with personal development, not external achievement. Your identity determines your standards. Your standards determine your actions. Your actions determine your results. If you see yourself as someone who procrastinates, you will justify delay. If you see yourself as someone disciplined, you will find ways to execute even when motivation is low. Upgrading yourself means consciously shaping how you think, respond, decide, and persist. It is not about pretending to be confident. It is about becoming competent and resilient enough that confidence naturally follows. Many people focus on learning tactics. They search for shortcuts, strategies, and formulas. While tactics matter, they are ineffective without the right mindset. A strategy in the hands of someone impatient will fail. The same strategy in the hands of someone consistent can succeed. Character amplifies tools. Without patience, you abandon efforts too soon. Without resilience, you quit after setbacks. Without emotional intelligence, you damage relationships that could have supported your growth. Upgrading yourself begins with self-awareness. You must identify patterns that limit you. Do you avoid difficult conversations? Do you get discouraged easily? Do you blame circumstances when progress slows? Honest reflection is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. When you take responsibility for your habits and reactions, you gain control over your development. Emotional control is a powerful upgrade. In a fast, moving world filled with comparison and pressure, emotions fluctuate daily. If your productivity depends on your mood, consistency becomes impossible. Learning to act despite temporary feelings creates stability. This does not mean ignoring emotions. It means managing them. You pause before reacting. You choose responses aligned with your long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Discipline is another critical internal shift. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment. In reality, it is self-respect expressed through action. When you commit to a routine, honor deadlines, and keep promises to yourself, you build trust in your own reliability. That internal trust strengthens confidence. Each completed task reinforces the belief that you can depend on yourself. Over time, this belief influences larger risks and opportunities because you know you will follow through. Upgrading yourself also requires continuous learning. Skills become outdated quickly. Curiosity keeps you adaptable. Instead of fearing change, you prepare for it by expanding knowledge. Reading, studying, seeking mentorship, and experimenting with new ideas broaden perspective. Growth becomes part of your identity rather than an occasional effort. When learning is habitual, improvement feels natural instead of forced. Another dimension of personal upgrade is communication. The ability to express ideas clearly and listen effectively increases influence. Many talented individuals remain overlooked because they cannot articulate their value. Improving communication multiplies the impact of other skills. It strengthens collaboration, leadership, and opportunity. When you can present ideas confidently and empathize with others, relationships deepen and doors open. Resilience transforms failure into feedback. Without resilience, setbacks feel like confirmation of inadequacy. With resilience, they become information for adjustment. Every challenge carries a lesson. When you detach your self-worth from temporary outcomes, you remain steady during turbulence. This steadiness attracts trust. People gravitate toward those who remain calm and solution-focused under pressure. Upgrading yourself also changes how you perceive time. Instead of seeking instant gratification, you become comfortable with delayed rewards. You understand that mastery requires repetition. You stop chasing validation and focus on competence. As competence grows, validation follows naturally. Patience becomes easier because you measure progress internally rather than externally. Environment influences identity as well. Surrounding yourself with growth-oriented individuals accelerates development. Conversations shift from complaints to ideas. Expectations rise. Standards elevate. When you consistently observe others striving for excellence, your own mindset expands. You begin to see higher performance as normal rather than exceptional. The internal upgrade process never truly ends. Each level of success reveals new areas for growth. Leadership demands deeper empathy. Greater income demands stronger financial discipline. Broader influence demands clearer ethics and responsibility. Continuous refinement ensures that success does not outpace character. When you focus on becoming stronger mentally, emotionally, and professionally, results change almost inevitably. Opportunities align with capability. Challenges feel manageable because you have built resilience. Instead of chasing success desperately, you position yourself as someone prepared for it. External achievements then become natural consequences of internal transformation. By prioritizing growth in character, skill, and mindset, you shift from hoping for better results to becoming the type of person capable of creating them consistently. Change has always been a constant force in human progress, but in 2026, it moves faster than ever. Technology evolves daily. Industries transform rapidly, and artificial intelligence reshapes the way people work, learn, and create. Many individuals feel overwhelmed by this pace. They fear being replaced, becoming irrelevant, or falling behind. That fear often leads to resistance. Resistance leads to stagnation. The ability to embrace change, especially technological change, determines whether you remain competitive or become obsolete. Every major technological shift in history has created anxiety. When machines entered factories, workers feared losing jobs. When computers became common, professionals worried about automation. When the internet expanded globally, businesses doubted digital transformation. Yet those who chose to adapt gained opportunities that previous generations never imagined. The same pattern continues with artificial intelligence and advanced digital systems. Tools that seem threatening at first eventually become multipliers for those willing to learn them. Fear of change usually stems from uncertainty. The mind prefers familiarity because it feels safe. However, safety can become a trap when the environment evolves. Skills that were valuable yesterday may not hold the same weight tomorrow. If you cling to old methods simply because they are comfortable, you limit your growth. Embracing change means shifting from protection mode to exploration mode. Instead of asking how to preserve what you have, you ask how to expand what you can do. Technology, particularly artificial intelligence, is not inherently a competitor. It is a tool. Tools increase efficiency, accuracy, and scale. When you see AI as a threat, you compete against it. When you see it as an assistant, you collaborate with it. Collaboration multiplies output. For example, AI can analyze data quickly, automate repetitive tasks, and generate insights. This frees human capacity for creativity, strategy, empathy, and leadership. The combination of human judgment and technological efficiency creates an advantage that neither alone can achieve. Adaptability becomes a crucial skill. Adaptability is the willingness to learn continuously and adjust methods without losing direction. It requires humility because you must admit that what worked before may no longer be sufficient. It requires curiosity because you must explore unfamiliar tools and ideas. Those who cultivate adaptability remain valuable regardless of how industries shift. They do not depend on a single outdated skill set. They evolve with circumstances. Learning new technologies can feel uncomfortable at first. There may be confusion, mistakes, or temporary inefficiency. This discomfort discourages many people. However, discomfort is often a sign of growth. When you challenge yourself to understand emerging systems, you expand cognitive flexibility. Over time, what once seemed complex becomes intuitive. The willingness to be a beginner repeatedly is a powerful long-term advantage. Embracing change also requires strategic thinking. Not every new trend deserves equal attention. The goal is not to chase every innovation impulsively. The goal is to identify technologies aligned with your long-term vision and integrate them intentionally. For instance, if your field relies heavily on data analysis, learning advanced analytical tools strengthens your position. If communication is central to your work, understanding digital platforms enhances reach. Purposeful adoption ensures that change supports growth rather than creating distraction. Another important aspect is emotional resilience. Rapid transformation can create pressure. Comparison intensifies as others appear to adapt quickly. Resilience helps you remain steady during this transition. Instead of feeling threatened by progress, you view it as an invitation to improve. When setbacks occur during learning, you treat them as temporary obstacles rather than confirmation of inadequacy. Embracing technology also opens creative possibilities. AI can assist in brainstorming, content creation, research, and automation. It allows individuals to experiment faster and at lower cost. Entrepreneurs can test ideas quickly. Professionals can enhance productivity. Students can personalize learning. The barrier to innovation decreases when powerful tools become accessible. Those who integrate these tools thoughtfully can accelerate both personal and professional development. There is also an ethical dimension to technological growth. As systems become more powerful, human judgment becomes even more critical. Empathy, integrity, and responsibility cannot be automated. By strengthening uniquely human qualities while leveraging technological efficiency, you create balanced growth. Machines process information. Humans assign meaning and values. This distinction ensures that embracing change does not eliminate humanity, but enhances it. The pace of change will not slow to accommodate hesitation. Waiting for certainty often means missing opportunity. Taking small steps toward understanding emerging trends builds confidence gradually. Reading about new developments, experimenting with digital platforms, and seeking mentorship in evolving areas create familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Action replaces anxiety with capability. Those who thrive in changing environments share a common mindset. They see disruption as a doorway rather than a barrier. They believe that growth lies on the other side of uncertainty. Instead of protecting outdated comfort zones, they expand their competence by viewing technology as an ally and committing to continuous adaptation. You position yourself not merely to survive change, but to lead within it. Comfort feels safe. It feels stable. It feels predictable. But comfort can quietly become one of the biggest obstacles to growth. Most people do not fail because they lack potential. They fail because they choose familiarity over expansion. They choose the known routine over the uncertain opportunity. Growth always demands discomfort because it requires you to operate beyond your current limits. The human mind is wired to avoid pain and seek ease. This instinct was useful for survival in ancient times, but in modern life it often works against long-term success. When something feels difficult or uncertain, the brain interprets it as danger. As a result, you procrastinate, delay, or rationalize staying where you are. Over time, these small decisions create stagnation. You convince yourself that you are waiting for the right moment, but the truth is you are protecting comfort. Growth, by definition, stretches capacity. When you learn a new skill, your brain struggles before it adapts. When you take on more responsibility, pressure increases before confidence develops. When you start a business or pursue a new career path, uncertainty rises before stability forms. The initial phase is uncomfortable because you are building new competence. If you retreat during this stage, you never experience the reward that follows persistence. Many people associate comfort with happiness. They believe that avoiding stress will create a better life. In reality, prolonged comfort often produces boredom and dissatisfaction. Deep fulfillment comes from progress, not ease. It comes from overcoming obstacles and realizing you are capable of more than you thought. The sense of achievement after pushing through difficulty is far more satisfying than the temporary relief of avoiding it. Choosing growth over comfort requires awareness. You must recognize when you are making decisions based on fear rather than potential. Fear disguises itself as logic. It tells you to wait until conditions are perfect. It suggests that you need more preparation before taking action. Preparation is important, but endless preparation without execution is avoidance. At some point, growth demands movement, despite incomplete certainty. Discomfort also builds resilience. When you repeatedly expose yourself to challenges, your tolerance for stress increases. Situations that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. Confidence develops not from ease, but from evidence. Each time you confront something difficult and survive it, you gather proof of capability. This proof strengthens self-belief and reduces hesitation in future challenges. Another dimension of growth is social discomfort. Speaking up in meetings, sharing ideas publicly, asking for feedback, or setting boundaries can feel awkward. Many people avoid these actions to preserve social harmony. However, avoiding necessary conversations limits progress. Growth often requires temporary tension. Clear communication, even when uncomfortable, leads to stronger relationships and greater respect over time. Comfort zones are deceptive because they expand subtly. What once felt challenging becomes routine. When you stop seeking new challenges, development slows. High performers deliberately create constructive discomfort. They set higher standards, pursue ambitious goals, and expose themselves to environments that demand improvement. This intentional stretching prevents stagnation. Risk is closely tied to growth. Not reckless risk, but calculated risk. Every significant advancement carries uncertainty. Changing careers, investing resources, launching projects, or relocating to pursue opportunity involves unknown outcomes. Avoiding all risk guarantees safety, but limits possibility. Evaluating risk thoughtfully and acting anyway when aligned with your vision is a mark of maturity. Growth over comfort also applies to habits. Waking up earlier, exercising consistently, studying after work, or limiting distractions requires discipline. The comfortable option is always easier in the moment. The uncomfortable option builds strength gradually. When you repeatedly choose disciplined actions over convenient ones, identity shifts. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of self-control and long-term thinking. Comparison can intensify discomfort. Watching others advance may create pressure. Instead of retreating, use that discomfort as motivation. It signals desire for more. Channel it into action rather than insecurity. Every individual progresses at a different pace, but growth requires consistent effort regardless of others' timelines. The paradox is that temporary discomfort creates long-term comfort. Building financial literacy may feel challenging initially, but it leads to security. Developing communication skills may require vulnerability, but it results in influence and clarity. Investing time in health may demand sacrifice, but it produces energy and confidence. The short-term difficulty protects you from long-term regret. When you habitually choose growth, discomfort becomes familiar rather than frightening. You begin to associate challenge with expansion. Instead of asking how to avoid difficulty, you ask what it can teach you. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities. It shifts focus from preserving comfort to building capability. Comfort maintains the present. Growth creates the future. Every day presents small decisions between the two. The path of least resistance offers immediate relief, but limited advancement. The path of intentional challenge offers temporary strain, but lasting transformation. Repeated choices toward growth reshape skills, confidence, and direction until the person you become is far beyond the version that once settled for ease.